Well, good afternoon, everyone. What a delightful afternoon, beautiful weather. What a terrific gathering of leadership of the university. Thank you so much for being with us. Got a little bit of a program for you. As I shared with some folks earlier this morning, it's not easy to describe what we do here. It's not, what we do isn't simple. But I've always thought the best way to do that is to put some students in front of you. Because when you listen to them, when you watch them, when you hear their maturity, you hear their curiosity, you get what we do. So that's what we're gonna start with this afternoon. I was visiting, I think it was just about 2 weeks ago, with Dr. Pearson, Dr. Monica Pearson, Oglethorpe honorary degree recipient. We were sitting down in the cafeteria at WSB, chatting about her life and her career. She closes out a short little career on the TV. But she's a terrific friend and a great friend of the university. And I said, we're having this leadership event, and we've got trying to figure out how do we put some students in front of this group and ask them good questions. And the light goes off, and said, "What are you doing on Friday afternoon?" She said, we'll check my schedule, and if I can do it, I'll be here. So we're thrilled to have her here with you. And she will spend, I think, about a half an hour, and you'll get to listen to our students talk. I'll come back up. Norm Finley, the chair of our board, will come back up, and then we'll let you all out of here. But Monica, you want to join us up? Thank you.
Afternoon. Didn't we have a wonderful lunch? Yes. That was the dessert. Betty and I agree. A moment on the lips, forever on the hips, but who cares? I am so honored to be here with these three students who have wonderful stories. And I'll introduce each of them, and then I'll ask the first question. First, Beth Cleary is a senior from Edgeville, South Carolina. She's an English major with a minor in history. She's president of the Honor Society, ODK, president of the Catholic Student Union, an NCAA scholar athlete, and admissions ambassador at Oglethorpe. While here, she's been an intern at the Atlanta Track Club, so that means you're a runner. Yeah. Next year, she's going to continue her studies as a graduate student at West Virginia or UNC Chapel Hill. She will be a graduate student in Russian and Eastern European Studies. Miss Beth Cleary. Our next student is a first-year student, Miss Rua Roman, originally from Jordan, now living in Georgia and possessing an IB diploma from South Forsyth, and I understand that's an international baccalaureate. She helped form the university's Coexist program and reactivated the Muslim Student Association, and she serves as president. She also is an emerging leader and orientation leader and is a presidential scholar with recognition. Ms. Roman. And holding down the chair for the men, Awet Walde Gabriel got to Oglethorpe from Norcross High School by way of Eritrea. He told me a wonderful story today that when he first came to Atlanta, the first thing he saw was me on a billboard with blonde hair. And then what removed that thought from his mind? Spaghetti Junction. He is active, serving as a class president for 2 years, as a resident assistant, and he is a founder of his own nonprofit, Knowledge for Africa, that he may expand to South America. He also is a founding member of Kappa Sigma fraternity at Oglethorpe. Awet was honored by Clinton Global Initiative as a conference speaker, and now He is a student ambassador for Lynn Owens. Now, what I didn't ask you earlier, Wilda Gabriel, what does it mean?
Wilda Gabriel. You guys can hear me?
Yes.
Wilda Gabriel means the birth of Gabriel. And my family, very traditional, and very traditional Orthodox family, so they said the birth of Gabriel is important because it taught us the birth of our Christ. So that's why I was Wilda Gabriel. My last name is that.
Thank you. Well, the first question for all three of you. Where did you learn about Oglethorpe, and then why did you pick Oglethorpe?
I first learned about Oglethorpe from one of my classmates from high school. She had graduated a year before me and come here, and she was absolutely in love with it, like so many of us are. And so, of course, she talked it up to her friends who were trying to make that difficult decision. And I didn't really have it, like, really on my radar quite yet. And then I experienced some rejection and deferment and decided to really take a look at this college that was a lot closer to home than I had planned to go. And I came for a weekend, and everyone introduced themselves, and came for another weekend because I did visit 5 times before I made my decision. And everyone still knew my name and knew what I liked and knew what I was involved in. And I just figured, why let it being, at that point it was 30 minutes from home, why let that stop you from going to a school that can offer you the chance to be a student athlete, to pursue your major from year one, to have this incredible core program that I was totally in love with from the beginning, and all the opportunities that all the students I met seemed to just, have just at their fingertips. So it wasn't really a hard decision once I visited and took a look.
Very good. Now, Rua, you went from Jordan to Egypt to Forsyth County. Wow! I may have just encapsulated it a little much. But how did you learn about Oglethorpe? And I understand that the, shall we say, reason is in the audience.
Yes. Actually, I was part of the International Baccalaureate program in high school, and part of that was having a very close relationship with your teachers. And one of my teachers is an alumni from here, Mr. Matthew Thompson.
Mr. Thompson, please stand. I made her do it. She didn't want to because she said you'd make her pay. No, not fair. It's me.
And so I'd never heard of Oglethorpe before, and he told me, go ahead and apply, you have nothing to lose. And at that point, the other schools just did not get me as well as I wanted. And so when I came to Oglethorpe, a lot of the students told me about how, you get a chance to talk to your professors know your name, you know your students, not just in your freshman class, but also upperclassmen. There's a lot of opportunities. So I came to scholarship weekend, I fell in love with the place, but I was still that really undecided count anyway. My mom had already known I was going to end up here, so finally in May, I think I'm ready to come here.
Okay, all right.
I found Oglethorpe. I feel like Oglethorpe kind of found me. I didn't really find Oglethorpe because the end of my junior year in high school and all of my senior year, I did a program with some funders which was called Work for Charity, where I worked for a restaurant, any restaurant, and people from my church would double what I make and help me raise money for Healing Bridges. So I was working at Chick-fil-A my senior year. I was working, which I think it's one of the jobs that has taught me a lot of morals for life. And I was working there, and there was this man, and he always came every day at 4 o'clock, and you could still see him today. He's always coming at 4 o'clock, and his name was Dean McConnell. I didn't know he was a dean, or was a dean, or of Oglethorpe, or anything related to Oglethorpe. And one night, he came without his wife, and he wanted to get to go, and he usually ate a lot of food. So I said, well, can I help you carry your food outside? And he said, no, I don't need any help. And I said, no, I know you don't need help. help. I just want fresh air. It's so hot in here. And he's like, okay, fine, you can help me. And no, he said, okay, fine, but just because you want some fresh air. And I said, okay, great. So only at Chick-fil-A can this happen, that I'm talking to him for 20 minutes outside, and my boss, Teresa, is washing the window, but it's really clean. She's just telling me, go back in. and I'm cleaning, she's cleaning the window again and again, and I'm talking to him about life and how I came here and all these things, and it became really, really a fun conversation, and he goes, what are you thinking about college? Those who know me know that I get ready for everything quickly. So I had applied to 32 colleges because I thought I would be that kid that was so involved in high school, and then everybody would say, oh, he was so great, what happened, So I didn't want to be that kid, and that's still my fear to this day. So I'm still starting right now for everything. So I said, that's not going to be me, so I applied to 32 colleges. Mr. Henderson, my counselor, hated me for that. That's 32 recommendations, 32 applications, and my teachers who did that recommendations know my story. And he goes, what about college? And I said, Mr. McConnell, I'm going to this school, blah, 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 these northern schools. And he said, what about Oglethorpe? And I said, well, it's a nice school to pass. It's really beautiful. I like the flags. I like the flags waving. It just looks really magical, but I don't know anything about it. And he goes, well, I'm going to set up a tour next week. You should come next week. And I think it was a Wednesday or a Thursday. And I can't say no to older people, so I said, okay, I'll do it. And I said, I'll do it. And he goes, okay, fine. And I come on a Wednesday, and I had gone to so many trips, so many visits. And when I came to Oglethorpe, what solidified everything was when the director of admissions came out and said, your name is Awit. Dr. McConnell has come 3 days. And if it was a Wednesday, that means he's come every day. Has come every day talking about you. And that director is Lucy Leach, of course. She made me do it. But after that, I couldn't believe it because no other director had come out and said hello or knew my name. And I said, well, I'm so much of I like personal relationships more than anything. And I said, oh my God, this is the right place for me. All throughout the tour, I was just smiling. I mean, I already had looked at the school, it's beautiful. But the thing that got me was that people already knew me. There was, David Dixon and Jeremy Sale and Philip. I know Philip's here. He had met with me and we were talking with Philip. He was telling me about the school. So all these things just said, hey, this is where you need to be. It's like, I knew it was kind of like a family feel. And I'm such a family kind of person. And I said, I have to be here. And I quickly filled out my application and the rest is history.
Good history. Question for each of you. Rua, I will start with you because of your formation of the group Coexist. How has Oglethorpe helped to develop you physically, mentally, and then spiritually?
When I first came here, I was actually really nervous about the whole idea of college because I'm actually the first person in my immediate family to go to college in the United States, and so I wasn't sure what to expect, being parents. And so when I first got here, in terms of personal relationships, I was really surprised that people knew my name, people were really friendly, and so in terms of that, it was just a great way for me to kind of flourish because this was my place for me to kind of finally spread my wings and go where I wanted to go, being a control. And so, I mean, in terms of that, I never felt, for example, fearful of starting anything or going to someone and telling them, here's an initiative that I want to do, what do you think about it? It's always been, let's do it, and here are my suggestions for you. In terms of spiritually, the fact that I get a chance to meet a lot of people who are willing to speak and who are so articulate about their beliefs and learning from them learning from me, it's been this beautiful mutual relationship between me and Oglethorpe, and the fact that it's helped me grow in a lot of ways.
That's good. Awet?
Okay. The question was, how has it
Has it
developed?
helped you grow mentally, spiritually, and physically?
I think academic-wise, I think the core has helped me grow. I think that it has it has prompted me to ask what kind of person I am, and I took the call with Dr. Chandler, who's here, and it's one of those things where it constantly tries to make you a better person. And I don't see a lot of schools having academics making you ask that question about yourself and about your life. So academically, that's how Oglethorpe supported me. And one thing that I think I am getting out of Oglethorpe with is our staff and our faculty literally sacrifice so much time for us. On top of the time that they're teaching, they go above and beyond to make us feel good and to make us feel comfortable. And you see them, if they have to scrape something or they have to clean something, you'll see Peter Rooney getting on something and just cleaning something. He has to do it. That's the kind of staff and faculty we have. And it's taught me to do that. I think that going out of school and going out, I just feel like that's what I'm going to be like. And that's what I'm trying to be more like the staff in terms of sacrificing my time and my, I guess, not being as selfish and just being selfless. I think that's one thing that it's taught me, and I think I applaud our faculty and staff for teaching students that, and for teaching me that, and teaching me to be selfless. So that's
Spiritually?
Really, yeah, spiritually, I think for me, Oglethorpe would coexist. I was with Luau when we founded that, and we've created we created a campus that is spiritually sound in terms of everyone is accepting of everyone. It's hard to find somebody saying, I don't accept someone because of their spiritual belief. And it has a climate of, just mixed, I'm Orthodox and I'm in Catholic Student Union with Beth. And I started the Orthodox Student Union. And I'm in Muslim Student Association as well, and it's kind of like, you will see that at Oglethorpe. It's hard to say you can't see that at Oglethorpe. And it just comes, I think, from the top down and those kind of things. So
Very
spiritual.
ecumenical. And how about you, Miss Beth? Mentally, spiritually, and physically?
Well, mentally, I definitely feel like I think about it in terms of intellectually, I guess, is how I'm interpreting that. And I really, there's no doubt that I've improved as a student here, that I've improved as a writer, that I can read better, or more efficiently, and I'm more comfortable speaking in front of large groups of people. Although I keep fidgeting. But I think that all of those things are a product of my Oglethorpe education. And I recently was visiting grad schools, and I sat in on a class at one of the schools that I really did view as one of my top choices. And I listened to their discussion, and though I think they were a little exhausted because it was at the end of a 3-hour-long class, I was still tracking their conversation, not having read the material that they were presenting on, and that really gave me great confidence, knowing that I could kind of jump in with both feet to my upcoming grad school experience. So that was great, and just kind of another boost of confidence in what Oglethorpe's given me. As far as spiritually and physically, spiritually, I totally agree with what they're saying, that it's a very open and inviting campus, very open-minded. You don't really run into people that have prejudices or bias here, and that's really, really nice. And I think that on my personal story, that it's been an interesting but a positive experience to continue keeping your faith life active while in college, because you no longer have your parents dragging you to whatever, whatever place of worship that you went to. And so being able to find a home in the Catholic Student Union my freshman year, having that kind of be a rock that brought me into the church that's right up the street, Our Lady of the Assumption, and 10-minute walk, so you don't have the excuse that you can't even drive to Mass. So it's been great to be involved and to start giving back to that church. I view that church as more of my church home than even the one that my parents continue to go to. And physically, it was great to be a student athlete. I loved it. I'm not this year. I decided to pursue longer distances. I was training for a half marathon, and but it's been great. It's nice to come out a well-rounded student and to continue pursuing all those things in high school. that I was really passionate about, and running is like my favorite thing to do, which people think is crazy. But I love it, and this school has embraced it. Actually, I have a Lucy story too, and that's been something that they've identified with me. I was in my first class of freshman year and sitting there, and she walked past and popped her head in and said, "Hey Beth, how's cross country season going so far?" And I was like, she knows my name and my sport, and it's the first day of class. So they're your biggest cheerleaders here. So not only are they encouraging you to push yourself to be a better athlete or just to be a healthier person, they're showing up at tennis matches and soccer games and asking you how your races went that weekend. So it's a great community.
Well, that falls into my next question, so I'll stay here with you and then go down the line. Can you give us another personal story of how someone here at Oglethorpe, doesn't matter their position, but how that person greatly affected you or did something for you, that, or a lesson they taught you that you will keep with you for the rest of your life?
Yes. I have lots of those. It's just pick one.
Pick two.
Pick two. Okay, I can do that. When I came for scholarship weekend, we met Mr. Peter Rooney, and he was his enthusiastic self, as always, and I remembered him because my father's nickname for me is Rooney, for some strange reason, and so we were like, "Oh, Mr. Rooney, we're going to be big fans of him when Beth's a student there. He'll be the easy name to remember." And when I received my scholarship, I received the Pat Conroy Scholarship, and that was the year that Pat Conroy was at Oglethorpe Day, and so they invited me to come and sit in like the second row in Conant and go up on stage and receive my scholarship from him and meet him and have lunch with him. And Mr. Rooney was the one that pulled me aside, got all of his books, and had him sign every single one of his books for me. And so I do still need South of Broad, actually.
Get it before you leave.
At every function I've ever been asked to come to, he's pulled me aside. He's made me feel special. He's really shown me how you can make someone feel welcome in an instant, and how that's the kind of environment and attitude that we want everyone at Oglethorpe to have, and especially in his upcoming absence, we all really are going to need to step it up to make up for it. But I also have a fantastic professor, Dr. Bob Roth, and he's a historian here, and I went to him the summer before sophomore year, and he had kind of ignited this interest in Russia for me, which I'm now pursuing at a graduate level, so it tells you how much of an impact he's had. But I went to him and I said, I have this top 3 list of countries that I want to visit by the time I graduate, and Russia's one of them, so how can I make this happen? And he said, well, I was actually just thinking, why don't we do a service course that sends us to Russia for spring break, and we can work in an orphanage there and do some good and learn a lot about the country and get that travel experience in. So I was like, all right, game on, let's go. And it took us like a year and a half to make it happen. But it's the kind of people here that hear what you want to pursue, like hear your goals, and like Rue said, are 100% behind you, with suggestions, with criticism possibly, but it's all about moving forward. It's all about making that happen and giving it their all to do it, even if it takes like close to 2 years. So I think that seeing that attitude and just the passion he has for the subject that I'm now super passionate about, I one day hope to be as intelligent as him. So,
Very nice.
I am a first year, and just sitting here, I'm trying to think about who to talk about, because just the fact that I know so many people on both a personal level and as well as a student professor level, whatever the case may be. But I'll never forget how before I was even a freshman here, Alwet had emailed me and said, we're thinking about starting this initiative. Are you interested? Are you in the state over the summer? Are you interested? So I came down here, and one of the first people that I met in terms of working together with was Ms. Tamara Nash, and she's the director for the Center for Civic Engagement. And so I'll never forget how during that first meeting, even though I was really nervous, she could just tell I had some ideas. She just knew. And And so she'd tell me, speak up, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? So finally, I just ended up the one talking the whole time, which always happens. But thanks. But I mean, she's just, I feel like she's kind of been one of my biggest cheerleaders here in a sense. Every time I had an idea, she'd be like, I'm on board for this. Let's do this. Every time I want to do something, she'd be like, okay, let's do it. We're ready to go. In terms of support, whenever I needed, just if I had a bad day or something, she'll always bring me a smile and always make my day. And she's kind of adopted me, so.
Colette probably has a list. Pick one.
He did say he's going to cut my mic if I don't.
Yeah. He can't touch your mic.
I think I just want to say it's a great school. When the hardest question today was choose one person that has influenced you in your life. I think it's such a hard question for me. And from Lucy, from Jeremy, from Dr. Shaw and Dr. Chandler.
They're still going to pass you.
Yeah.
All you need to do is, if I was coming to the school, you would say to me, Monica, this is the one you really got to get hip to hip with.
I think this year, I feel like this year has been one of the trying times in my life. And one person that I feel like has been there when it was the hardest for me is the Dean of Students, Dean Michelle Hall. I think it's a great school when you can say your dean is one of your great friends. Whoa.
It's okay. It's okay.
But she's been such a great friend and such a supporter in my life, and
it's okay.
Sorry,
They need to know how to do it.
She's new at Oglethorpe. Last year was her first year, and this is her second year. And I've gone to her for every little thing that you could think of. And knowing me, I have a lot of things to say. So she has sat through a lot of meetings with me, and I really want to thank you for everything that you do and for everything you do for me as well. And I think that's one person I'll remember. Just call me.
It is important for us to feel what you feel, because your honesty, all three of you, makes us love Oglethorpe even more, and it shows what a treasure it is, because it invests in people. It's not just grounds, it's investing in people like you three, who will be literally our future leaders and already are leading us by what you're doing as students. You are teaching us to be better. So please, never apologize for tears. Those are joyful tears, tears of appreciation. Now, I'm a student. I'm thinking about maybe coming to Oglethorpe. But I'm not sure. Give me a reason why it's absolutely imperative for me to come here.
I could be here for a while. I work in admissions. I think our personal stories have a great effect on students. I mean, it's what got me here, hearing my friend's experience just after 1 year, how in love with it she was. We've all met students that we've been like, oh my gosh, these are great people, and I think that's what we try to do in admissions as student workers, is share those experiences that kind of set it apart. So, you can speak in so many ways to times when professors have really kind of gone the extra mile for you, and how they really are about making personal connections with their students, and they're not these people standing at the front of the class to be scared of, to be intimidated by necessarily, that they can become approachable mentors and friends. And I'm a big fan of the core program. to the point where it might be a little ridiculous. But I think that it does what it's designed to do. You know?
Explain to me,
Okay.
since I'm not familiar with it, and maybe some others aren't, what is the core program?
The core program is a group of sequential classes that you take during your 4 years at Oglethorpe. So you have one each semester, and there are three three that you can choose from and put into your schedule at different times. But each semester you are taking a core class that builds on the other. Until your senior year, we just take one semester. But it kind of starts with narratives of the self. So you get to understand the individual. You kind of examine texts that look internally, that look about creating and understanding oneself. And then the next year you have human nature and the social order. So you put that self in the context of society and see how like it's philosophy, it's economics, it's sociology. And then you have historical perspectives on the social order your junior year. So you take that society, you put it in the context of other societies, like how their interactions. You start with Herodotus, Thucydides. You move on to some really interesting like World War II memoirs and people who were under Soviet occupation. Read those type of first-person texts that are really interesting. And then your senior year, you take science course. So we've been dealing with the world. Now let's embrace the cosmos, or examine evolutionary theory. So it's this constant building. It's this constant expansion, and I think it's a constant expansion of your mind too. Because especially as freshmen, it's a really formative class to come in and read texts that are about the individual, that are about the self, while you're trying to figure out yourself, and you have this new freer identity, no mom and dad there, on your own in a way, and it kind of tracks with you as you grow up through this school. And they're all really interesting. They may not be your cup of tea all the time. I struggled through the second year. I could not wrap my head around Aristotle for 3 weeks. My poor roommate is out here somewhere, and she witnessed me frustrated before the test all the time. But I also didn't take myself as a science girl. I'm an English major, history minor. Hello. But I was in Dr. Rulison's. It's the cosmology science core, and I was just enthralled the whole time. We were talking about the expanding universe and how it's going to end and things like that, and it is very cool. And I think that I've come out as a well-rounded student who can make connections from my discipline to the core, who can understand things in the core that I would normally not have been exposed to in other classes. And it's a real appreciation for learning, I think, because it shows you that everything is kind of connected, and you are intelligent enough to make those connections and to build something really important from them, to really learn something.
Very nice, Beth. Okay, look. Why do we need an institution like Oglethorpe? We've got all these other colleges and universities.
I think it'd be easier to answer more than being Oglethorpe, because honestly, at least from what I know about Oglethorpe students, from what I've seen around me, they tend to be those students who are the most well-rounded. They're the students who, like Beth mentioned, they have a little bit of science in them, a little bit of history, a little bit of math. They have a little bit of everything, no matter what their major is. They tend to be those students who are the more articulate ones. They tend to be the ones who, they major in business, but they go into their workplace and they've got all these great ideas through this interdisciplinary program they've been in. And the fact that it just gives you a community and a home to be in. It's kind of hard to answer that question because there are just so many reasons, but honestly, just the fact that it produces so many great students once they graduate, it's fantastic.
Okay.
Why should there be an Oglethorpe?
What would we miss if it disappeared?
I think, in the time that we live in right now, I think that a lot of people morally are losing a lot of their things that they've learned from their parents, and a lot of things that teach them how to be a better person, how to deal with people, how to communicate with people. It would become, the society that's, that we see right now on TV and all that. It's more selfish and more driven by self-interest. We can't lose a place like Oglethorpe because it teaches you not to be only for yourself. It teaches you to work with people, to help people. You know, I can't tell you honestly and say, I have not learned how to be a better person, you know, but I have. At Oglethorpe, I have learned to be a better person. And it's teaching students to do that. I'm not the only one that's been affected to say, I have to do something for people. I cannot always think of myself. And truthfully, when I talk to people who are in the same year in Norcross High School that are in UGA or what have you, I don't think they're getting that. I don't think they're getting an education and they're in an institution that says, hey, you are here for me and I am here for you. Let's help each other. We can't lose that, especially at the time when everybody's just getting a little bit too selfish. And I think that Oglethorpe's teaching students not to be selfish. And I don't think we can afford to lose a school that does that.
Last question to you, Katie. You know these young people, well, you have a few more years. Soon will be working, needing internships. I see so many people representing companies out there. Wouldn't you like to have some of these young people working? Last question. If you had a wish list for Dr. Shaw and this university from the trustees, you could get anything you wanted from the trustees.
Monica, this was not on your list.
No, it wasn't. A lot of my questions weren't on your list. That's the reason I don't get paid for doing this. Oh no. Well, we got these folks in here. We're gonna get our wish list. Have you thought about it? Wish list from the trustees. What does the student body need that it doesn't have? Dr. Shaw's over there sweating bullets. Blame it on me. Okay, who wants to go first?
Student body or us?
Both.
I was just talking about how not to be selfish.
And yourself.
I think our school, there's a great quote on our alumni page. It says like, Oglethorpe is great. It could be better or it could be greater. And truthfully, it can be greater. It is already a great school. What will put us on the top is when we have everything, when we're not worrying about finances. I mean, keep the books in check. But when we're not thinking about, oh, you know, can we afford to do the research for the biology department, or when we don't have to worry about, can students, you know, take a subsidized trip to, you know, Cuba, or when we don't have to worry as much about money, but saying, wow, what an experience for our students. I think that day is gonna come. I think we're getting there. I think that's really what will change from us from being great school to the best school when we have a huge endowment. As I go on to the real world and seek a job, I hope to work with someone that has a relationship with the school that I love. And I know that there's some in here. So I hope that happens and that I can have that relationship with an Oglethorpe alum and work with them and help them have their company successful. That's what I'm about.
Rua?
What do I want? I want us to stay on this path that we're going in, on this path of amazing, I guess you could kind of say, like, we really are prospering in a sense. People's are spring and everything's flying. When I was talking to Katie Payton from admissions, she said she saw this beautiful diagram of what Oglethorpe could possibly look like one day in the Sheffield Suite, and she like described to me how beautiful it was going to look, and how like the quad would be enclosed and it would be, you know, gorgeous. And I really, really want to see that one day. I want people to not only see that, but to also say, I know what Oglethorpe is, I know where it is, and I really want to go there. I want that to be my top school.
And Beth.
I'm all about getting Oglethorpe Oglethorpe on the, like, I think it's already on the map, and I think it's because of the staff and faculty and students that we have here that put it there. I feel like there's great potential to kind of almost like modernize it in a way that would make it more attractive and more well known to a larger group of students, I guess. I think that, you know, that student center is going to be pivotal for, you know, admissions and for future students. I think it's going to serve the student body a lot better once we can get that built, and to really become a hub on campus, because right now it's not really that. It's where we eat our meals, and the cafeteria itself is a great gathering place. But I think something that is the center of campus, not only in location, but also in the activity that happens there, I think would be a really positive thing to have here. I think as far as a wish list, I'm thinking a little more materially, I'm sorry. But I think, you know, an improvement of the athletic facilities as well would probably be high up on my list. I'm definitely up for keeping this campus looking its traditional style and having all of the green that it has here. It's a lovely little oasis in Atlanta. But I think that by updating some of the buildings that we have here that have kind of fallen out of date and thus, you know, are not used as much as they could be, are not as like profitable to the students, I guess, as they once were. If we improve those, I think campus life will really be rounded out quite nicely, and that will possibly gain some attention that we might be losing right now. But with that said, I would like to say that I think that what's most important for Oglethorpe going into the future is keeping, you know, the high standards that we have for the students that we let in, and getting to the point where we're a school that, you know, can be and will be picky because we want the best here, and that's the reputation that we have. That would be nice.
Ladies and gentlemen. Now, I have 5 minutes to do something. Are there any questions from the audience for our students? Yes.
Were you all paid to say that the student center is a highlight for you?
No, I'm really sad that I'm leaving before it's happening. I will be back for the grand opening because I've seen the plans and it's going to be epic. And yeah.
You're aware we're in a campaign for it. So.
Yes, no, I'm very aware. So I mean, shameless plug on my part, but no, it's not.
I mean, no, smart woman.
I mean, really, I would love to see the new student center open before I graduate, because then I can take advantage of it. Because the fact that I've seen the plans and they're just so, the fact that it's literally what Beth was talking about, bringing that modern and keeping sort of the beautiful architecture of Oglethorpe, but also putting in that little modern bit, and it just does that so perfectly. I'm like, I really want this now. Like, why don't I wait?
Any other questions? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Yes.
This question for Beth. When you look back at your 4 years, what's your favorite memory of Oglethorpe?
Favorite memory of Oglethorpe.
Justin, you know that's an impossible question.
Everyone's asking that.
Yeah, that's true. That and what we're doing with the rest of our lives.
I'm asking myself that. That question goes on and on and on.
I think I have this saying that at Oglethorpe the people make the place. That this could have just been another school had I not met the professors and like the people in admissions that I love so much and my friends. I was extremely blessed to meet my roommate before freshman year, and we have lived together since freshman year, and I coming out with an amazing group of friends. So I think I wouldn't pinpoint an exact favorite moment, although being in Moscow for spring break was pretty awesome. But I think that, you know, when I think of college, I think back to moments during like freshman and sophomore year when we were still like giddy with this lifestyle that we were like allowed into now, and we're going out into Atlanta and like exploring like fun places to dance, the night like college night at the High, getting into free cake tasting parties that we didn't really have admittance to, you know, like things like that, that were just kind of like random fun outings that really just feel like they define what what college is about, like kind of balancing that academic with probably the most fun, I've been told, the most fun I'm going to have in my life. I really hope that's not true. And that's why I'm going to grad school for 2 more years.
The lady in the green dress back there.
Annie Morgan, can you please stand up?
She had to leave to study for a final.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, we're all kind of crazy with that right now.
Any other
She
questions?
was the one who said the prayer earlier.
Oh,
That's
yes.
my roommate, Annie. Yeah.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Would you please, would you please tell us anything about Larry Shaw's wife, Betty?
Go right ahead.
Did you actually tell us something about them?
Yes.
Yeah, well, okay, so here's the thing. We recently had the leadership seminar that was mentioned earlier, and President Shaw had come in to discuss his idea of being a good leader. And I remember thinking, and afterwards we were talking after he left, we kind of talked about you. But after he left, everyone was saying, you know, it wasn't about just what he does, but the fact that he literally defines a leader of how he acts, how he talks, how he does everything. You literally see a walking example of a leader just going around campus, and it's been an honor. And
You're talking about Larry Shaw, right?
and he's well known. I don't know Betty well or like very personally, but I do know that she has a blog that she gave, what was it, $100 a day for a whole year.
Yes.
And I was like, if we have that type of generosity backing up the leader of our school, we're in a good place.
First of all, I want to say something about this group. This is the first time we've really had the entire leadership of the university in one tent or room, and it's really incredible. We have the president, the administration, we have the leaders of the faculty, we have student leaders, we have the leaders of the parents' organization, we have the trustees, we have the board of the President's Advisory Council, the Alumni Board, we have and also the leaders of the Oglethorpe University Museum of Art. Did I leave anybody out? I don't think so. Georgia Shakespeare, I'm sorry, as well. And it's quite a group of people, and you can tell by the buzz in the room before that it's a lively group of people who are really interested in the things that we're doing. And putting this together, I guess, this afternoon was sort of, I guess, a Peter Rooney's swan song as he heads off to the Atlanta Youth Academy. And I'd say typical for Peter, I think his timing in putting this together is just perfect. It's just impeccable. And at unique times like this, I think it's good just to kind of sit back for a moment, to gather our thoughts and to think about where we are, what we're doing, and where we're trying to go as an organization. So let's take a few minutes if we could, and I'll do that. Most of you know me, that I worked for 30 plus years in the Coca-Cola system, both at the Coca-Cola Company and then at Coca-Cola Enterprises, and it was a terrific place to work. And Oglethorpe today reminds me of one of my very favorite moments at Coke. It was late, I underline late, 1985. I was working for a British educated Argentine named Brian Dyson. Many of you probably know him. He lives here in Atlanta. And I pointed out it was late in 1985 because in April of 1985, we introduced new Coke. In July of 1985, we introduced Coca-Cola Classic, and those were not my favorite times at Coca-Cola. This was later. At that time, I was the Vice President of Marketing Operations for Coca-Cola North America, sort of the make-it-happen guy in the marketing department. And so from February 1984, when I was first told about New Coke, until April of 1985, my job was to, in top secret, produce billions and billions of cans and labels with the word Cokes laid out a little differently on them and the word New in bright silver in the upper left-hand corner. And my job from April 16th after that was to get rid of those cans and labels any way I could as fast as I possibly could. So now we're late 1985, and we had a chance to catch our breath a little. And Brian Dyson, who was just one heck of a leader, called the senior management team together, and he said, write this date down and remember it. And I did. It was October 17th, 1985. I don't think he cared more to remember what went on in that day. He said there are certain moments in time, a moment in time that can skip by you if you don't pay attention to it. And if you don't stop and think about that moment in time, you lose great opportunity. You lose things in your career, you lose things in your life that really should be there for you if you let them slip by. Well, it's hard to believe now, but in 1985, and prior to New Coke, Coca-Cola was on its way to becoming somewhat irrelevant. It appeared on the scoreboard in every stadium. It was on the shelf in every supermarket. But it was being taken for granted. If by some chance Pepsi appeared on that scoreboard, people said, well, yeah, that's strange. What is that doing there? But they noticed it. And probably the most intrusive Coke advertising at the time was in Pepsi commercials that poked fun at the brand and at the company. And the president of Pepsi even had the audacity to write a book called The Other Guy Blinked, about the demise of Coca-Cola and the Coca-Cola Company. So in Dyson's words, prior to New Coke, Coke was becoming wallpaper, he called it. Everybody knew it was around, and nobody thought much about it or cared much about it. And as you all know, New Coke certainly changed all of that. People thought about Coke a lot in a big hurry as soon as we introduced New Coke. And so Dyson said the first part of 1985, he says, it's been extremely difficult. He was a master of understatement, even at that point. He said, but incredibly, we built a platform here from which, if we work hard, if we make the right decisions, and if we're bold and do the right things, we can build success. He said, we'll need that bold strategy, but as of this moment in time, he said, the flow of everything has changed. The momentum, the inertia that we have to work with, all of that has changed as of right at this moment. Instead of fighting against the tide of public opinion, we have public opinion going with us, and if we jumped on that bandwagon, we'd be home free. Well, he was right. It's 27 years later. Coca-Cola Company's doing fairly well. Stock split yesterday. If you haven't heard about it, Pepsi is now the #3 brand in America, behind both Coke and Diet Coke. And it's been pretty successful. How did this happen? Well, I'm not going to stand here and bore you with a lot of things that people did after I retired to produce these kind of results. But what I do want to dwell upon for a minute is that moment in time. Because in my opinion, we have such a moment in time right now for Oglethorpe University. This is just such a moment. Everyone's familiar with where Oglethorpe has been. Some of the students were talking about it. Beautiful campus, Atlanta's best kept secret. You know, talk about wallpaper. That's what our brand has been. It's been wallpaper. Everybody's known it's here, but people have taken it for granted. And the quality of education that this university provides young people has been overlooked and not understood. And we have a chance to change that right now. Today, everyone knows the perception's begun to change. You hear more about Oglethorpe. You hear about the Center for Civic Engagement. You hear about good works being done by Oglethorpe professors and by our incredible students. Back to Dyson's words, the flow is changing, the momentum is changing. Our admission numbers, both quantity and quality, continue to grow. Our earning statements no longer bleed red, but are in the black and covering depreciation. New dorms, more students on campus than ever before, the best campus life that's ever been here. A very active campus community. We have dynamic leadership, a strong president who has recruited and surrounded himself with an equally amazing administration. We continue to have a faculty which, in my opinion, and I've thought about this a lot, in my opinion, is the very, very best anywhere. Adrian and I have seen that in our son, we've seen that in our son's friends, and we see that here in the students every day, the incredible job that they do. Now, all of us who love Oglethorpe have a choice at this moment in time. We can take a breath like the folks at Coke did in 1985. We can say, you know, well, things are better now. People know a little bit more about us. That anonymity part is probably behind us, and that's really pretty good. Or we can say, okay, the flow has changed. And what that gives us now is a positive base upon which to build our future. We can write this down as a lovely meeting and a tasty lunch, or we can recognize it for what it is. One of those moments, as Dyson told me in '85, one of those moments in time where we can step up and change things dramatically. We can jump aboard this momentum, we can ride it, we can accelerate it, we continue to grow Oglethorpe to all it can and should be. And I'll tell all of you, as trustees, we talk about this sort of thing a lot. And we feel that recognizing and seizing the opportunity is absolutely the only way to go, and we hope that all of you do too. Thank you very much.
Wow. So I'm trying to, did Norm just call me the new Coke of Oglethorpe? President Jacobs, members and friends of Oglethorpe University, and especially you, my fellow members of the class of 1932. Yes, you heard that right, class of 1932, and these words were spoken by one of the graduates of that class, an honorary one, May 22nd, 1932, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. It's almost 80 years ago. Next month will be 80 years. The class that FDR graduated with the graduated in 32, began in 1928. So he continued. 4 years ago, if you heard and believed the tidings of the time, you could expect to take your place in a society well supplied with material things. And you could look forward to the not too distant time when you'd be living in your own homes, each, if you believe the politicians, with a 2-car garage, and without great effort, you'd be providing yourself and your families with all the necessities and amenities of life. Much has been written about the hope of youth. I prefer to emphasize another quality. I hope that you have spent 4 years at an institution whose fundamental purpose is to train you to pursue truths relentlessly and to look at them courageously and to face the world before you with greater clarity of vision than many of your elders. We need the courage of the young. Yours is not the task of making your way in the world, but the task of remaking the world you will find before you. Remarkable words 80 years ago. We need the courage of the young. Yours is not the task of making your way in the world, but the task of remaking the world you will find before you. It's basically, as I sit here and listen to our students, it's the message they deliver with you to you today. I spend a lot of time with parents of prospective students. And what I tell them is that our job is not to make certain that your son or daughter gets that first job out of college. That first job will come with hard work, with persistence, a little networking that you saw going on up here. But instead, our job is to make sure that your children will have a lifetime of rewarding jobs, to lead a life of difference, no matter what work they choose. And we know that that's absolutely a far more difficult task than training them for a specific job that will exist today in 2012. And the fact is that most college graduates will hold in their first 5 or 10 years out of here, they'll have 5 jobs. And that 5th job will look nothing like that first job, and it's not likely that first job that they'll get in 2012 will even exist 10 years later. So yes, training a student for a particular job has a certain appeal. I can promise you that personally. I've raised 4 children. I appreciate, as many of you do, the idea of having your children move out of your house and not come back to live with you. But despite how hard it is to realize that at the time, that is a short-sighted view. And I think it is damaging our country rather than lifting it up. So when I spend time with students, when I listen to those students talk, this is what I see in them. This is what I see in our alumni. An insatiable curiosity, a lack of fear about the unknown, an adaptability to new things, an ability to communicate in writing and in speech, a practiced talent to reason and to think, and a willingness to work hard to achieve an outcome. None of those things come from a vocational training. They all come from being educated. They all come from being inspired. They all come from the time that our students get to spend with individual faculty members in their classroom and outside their classroom, learning, discussing, challenging. James Edwin Oglethorpe is our namesake. And Oglethorpe, the university, was named after him, not because he ever had anything to do with us. He never made it to Atlanta, obviously a long time ago, but the university was named after him for a reason. He was a man far ahead of his time. He worked to free thousands of men being held in British jails simply because they owed another man some small amount of money. He was successful in what he attempted to do before he hit the age of 30. He dreamed up this idea, this sort of odd idea of creating a colony in the Americas that would be called Georgia. It would be the first slave-free colony of his country, of Britain. And what made him such an important person was not just that his ideas were ahead of his time, but he was willing to act on those ideas. And that takes me back to the words I began with FDR. Your job is not just to make your way in the world, but to remake the world. And our students are doing that. They're doing that while they're here, and they're doing that after they graduate. But they can't begin that journey without the help of all of you in this room, of our faculty, of our staff, of our alumni, and our volunteers. This is no easy task we have taken on. Despite my nervousness around Monica's question to her last question to the students about what you'd change, what an amazing set of answers that they gave you. They know that life here is not easy. I think one of the charms of this place is that life here is not easy. That we all work to make things happen here. Our students work to make things happen for themselves. Our faculty work to make things happen with students. Spent a lot of time on college campuses, and there are very few campuses that you could be on where you don't get a sense of entitlement from students, from faculty, from staff, from administrators, from trustees. There's not an ounce of entitlement at Oglethorpe. It's one of the things that makes it such a special place. So today is a day to celebrate. It's a day to thank all of you for what you do, and encourage you to continue to believe in us and to continue to do what you do. So thank you all. I think we're near, what time is it away? Oh, I cut his mic off. I think it's near 2 o'clock. So thank you all for being with us, hanging in here. I want to thank when we thought about doing dinner last night and lunch today, and thought about all the different places we could do it. We first thought, well, is there a place we could do this on campus? This is a very special place, and so making this all happen was a lot of you in the room that helped do this. I'm not going to start mentioning you by name because I'll leave someone out, but I want to thank the staff, thank our servers, and thank everyone for making this happen. Have a great day.